Hi. What are we working on today?
I have a rhetorical analysis for my college writing 2 class due. I was hoping you could check to see if my grammar and my paper made sense.
Okay, yeah, we'll double check that, but I'm going to start reading your paper aloud and make any corrections that I see that need to be fixed along the way, okay?
Okay.
Whoa, pump the brakes. What happened to explaining what happens at the writing center and seeing if she had other concerns?
Not cool, bro. Not cool.
Can we take some time to also look at my conclusion? I'm not too sure if it summarizes my argument. My teacher keeps mentioning a thesis. Can we see if I have a good thesis in my paper?
Yeah, I don't actually see a thesis in your paper, so what's your paper supposed to be about, anyway?
It's supposed to be an analysis of the Emancipation Proclamation. I have to look at how the speaker's logos, ethos, and pathos are used in the speech and how effective I think the speech is.
Yeah, didn't really get that from the first glance, but let's read over it together, and we'll see what marks come out and what needs to be fixed with it, okay?
All right.
If you look, the tutor is holding her pen in her dominant writing hand, graffitiing the paper with corrections and changing the author's voice. This is not going to end well.
We've already seen the tutor change the author's voice once. Once a voice changer, always a voice changer.
All right, were there any areas that you wanted to work on as I read here?
Yes, my thesis is phrased awkwardly, I think.
Yeah, no, you're right. Second half of the sentence is a little wordy, so how do you think we can fix that?
Ooh, tutor asks an open-ended question. That's beautiful. Good to see. That really helps put the writer back in the writing process and get them involved.
Actually, you know what? Let's just adjust the words this way. I want to give it a more concise feel, more concise thought. We don't want to keep the sentence wordy.
And there goes those open-ended questions.
I also noticed that your first paragraph and then your third paragraph, they're really strong, and I like the way you explain each of the rhetorical forms and then give examples. But you didn't do that in your second paragraph? Is there a reason why you didn't?
No, I don't really have a reason why.
Okay, so I'm going to put a big circle around it, reminding you to check back after you leave. And remember to try and make that paragraph kind of follow the format of the first and the third, the other 2 paragraphs there. All right, so let's look at your conclusion. I hope there's a little more to work on than with the thesis there. And then we can get to all the grammar corrections that I have for you, okay?
Ouch, that was harsh of the tutor to critique the student's paper that way. That is surely not going to reflect well on the end of session evaluation.
Well, I just couldn't agree more. It's important for the tutor to remain affirming and helpful throughout the process, not putting the student's writing down.
All right. Yeah, no, see, your conclusion's like a little unorganized here, and it's maybe because we need to rework the thesis, which we talked about a little bit. I would recommend not leaving your restated thesis to the very end, however.
Okay, so maybe rephrasing my thesis in the opening sentences and then giving more summary points for the rest of the paragraph?
Yeah, that might tie up the paper nicely there. That's what you want to do. Let's go over some grammar issues, though. I notice you have a hard time with comma placement here. To make it easier for you, I just placed the commas where they need to go, and then I crossed out all the ones that weren't necessary, because commas are hard, so I just fixed it for you.
Okay.
Yikes! That was not a smart move. The tutor would have been better making corrections for the first few herself, then teaching the rule and allowing the student to do the rest.
This session has really hit a brick wall and has no room for gaining the writer's voice back. I hope the student comes back to the writing center after such negative feedback.
They should be moving on to the wrap-up soon. Hopefully this ends well for both parties.
I think that covers everything on my list. Do you have any other questions before we end here?
No, I think you covered everything yourself. It seems like I have a lot of corrections to make.
Yeah, you'll want a stronger thesis statement. You have to be concise in your conclusion. Correct all those incorrect comma placements and grammatical errors I added for you, okay? So if you have any other questions or if you still need help with the comma situation, you can make another appointment with us anytime. It's a smaller concern. You can always message us on Facebook and then we'll answer your questions right away.
The tutor offered another session and brought up our Writing Center Facebook page. Hopefully the student wasn't scared away from such a demanding first experience to schedule again.
The Facebook page was a great way for the student to see that there are other tutors out there who are willing to give more affirming and hopefully constructive feedback.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.